Hola, hola, saludos. El día de hoy les traigo un episodio especial. Vamos a estar platicando con Pulselorian. La plática va a ser en inglés. Él habla muy poquito español, habla más portugués. Entonces, pues bueno, ahí va a ser un poquito complicado si tratamos de llevar la conversación en español. Mi hermano se nos va a unir también. Pues bueno, vamos a platicar de qué se trata Pulselorian, nos va a contar un poquito su historia, qué lo llevó a crear todo lo que se ha creado, sus motivaciones, y luego nos va a explicar más sobre Reflux, que es la moneda de la que hablé en mis últimos dos videos, y de la última que acaba de lanzar, que es idéntica a Reflux, se llama DaiX. Nada más que esta, en lugar de pagar en Pulse, paga en DAI de Ethereum. Entonces, bueno, sin más, ahorita damos la bienvenida.
Hey, Andrei.
Saludos, hello.
Hello. Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Hello.
Muy bien. Okay, so, well, first of all, welcome. I really appreciate that you took the time to talk to us. I have a few questions. Obviously, we're going to be like having a conversation. But before we start anything, tell us who you are, where you come from, how did you get into crypto, and what took you to start developing on PulseChain?
Yep, for sure. I'm not American, right? So I'm from South America. So I think I've
Okay.
experienced all the trials and tribulations of being like not having a hard time getting a loan, having a hard time opening a bank account, inflation in the country where I'm from. So seeing my currency getting devalued, over like 5 times within like a span of like a year or two. And then I have a background in mostly finance and tech, right? So about like 15 years of experience. And then our main contract developer, Ra, the genius behind our contracts, he has about over 30 years of software development experience, leading teams across the globe. So really brilliant guy. But speaking about myself, so I always had that interest in tech finance. In 2013, I stumbled into Bitcoin, just because I like reading about investing and that stuff. Bought a little bit on the hype, had no idea what I was doing, lost private keys, forgot about it, thought it was just I think Ra himself mining some Bitcoin in 2012, like experimenting with it. And I think he did the same. He said, I'm mining some, but might not be worth anything. It seems fun now. And so yeah, I forgot about it for like 4 years, and then in 2017 stumbled into an article about Ethereum, early 2017, and then went deeper into the rabbit hole, because then I saw all of its potential. Saw Bitcoin's price; it was higher than before, and I saw, okay, there's something to it. And then and then just spent like a good like 2 years on like just investment like mode, just searching for projects, trying to got into
Investing everything in crypto, or investing in general?
Crypto. Once I saw what crypto was in 2017, I like forget the stock market.
I mean,
like, goodbye. I'm just gonna focus on crypto 100%, because this is where the alpha is at, in my opinion, right? Can really make some gains, and it helped that I got like one of like that start of Ethereum's bull run that really I saw like within a month like my portfolio go up like 3-4 times. So and then so yeah, I got caught up in like that ICO craze, exploring like the DeFi space, DeFi summer, and the layer twos. And then knowing Ron, knowing that he also had an interest in crypto, because we already talked about it throughout that time, he said, hey, why don't we develop ourselves our project? And because we believe we could add some value to to crypto in general. And at the time, we were already focused on RH and PulseChain, PulseChain sacrificers, held Hex. I wasn't day one Hex holder. unfortunately. I knew about Hex back then, but I got flooded out by listening to some different sources. And then
Same thing happened.
yeah, I regret that. I think like the guys that I listened to like back then was like a guy named Crypto Zero. He doesn't. I don't think he
Uh-huh.
does YouTube anymore. And then Ivanotech, I think like even himself, he
Oh
didn't
yeah.
like. Yeah, and then yeah, so and then obviously once PulseChain started, it was like, okay, this is the opportunity. This is where the money is gonna flow, in our opinion, right?
Yeah.
Uh, because it's our age. I've always followed the guy since I started into crypto because he was just the most knowledgeable source.
Yeah.
And then again, we follow, we hear, he tells, take care of your private keys, don't go into like chasing like these different
Exactly.
coins. But we ourselves, we don't take that advice sometimes, right? And then yeah, so PulseChain was what made sense to us, just because
Mhm.
better technology. It's like Ethereum, it's
Yeah.
faster, it's cheaper. um
Yeah.
and then it has that like true cypherpunk spirit, which is what drawn me to crypto in the first place,
Yes.
and what we as a community are about. We stand for the people, for freedom of this fiat system, which is basically
Correct.
enslaving everybody, right? They debase our currency, we lose our purchasing power year by year. That the
Mhm.
money they print never trickles down into our wallets, and then
Exactly.
blockchain is the only thing. Crypto pulse chain is the only thing that's happening in the world right now, which actually has the power to change that power imbalance and dynamic that's throughout the world, and bring truly a much more fair society, world, and more opportunity and more prosperity for everybody. So I mean, our age is the man, my opinion.
Yeah.
And the post-chain community behind it is what makes it like that it will stand all the battles and the test of time. And you see that even though Hex is down 99% for a while,
We're
people
still all here.
are still strong,
Yeah.
even stronger, I'd
Yeah.
say. People like
Yes.
get join forces even more. So that's
Correct.
we're 100% sure we're in the right place. Then that's no doubt.
Yeah. And now you mentioned that part about being from a Latin American country,
Mhm,
the struggle, the financial struggle.
mhm.
That is exactly why we have the community ISPAHEX, and that is the main goal of it, is to bring this knowledge to all these Spanish-speaking countries, because pretty much all of Latin America, except for Brazil, we all speak Spanish, and we're all very vulnerable. Like the money there is like in any country you go to, like it's
What
it's
happened
just
in
not good.
Venezuela, Argentina, Brazil itself? It's like
Yeah,
the devaluation is of the currency. It's absurd. It obliterates
yeah,
those lives literally. Yeah.
yeah, and unfortunately, because of the nature of our language and everything, we don't get this information, like everything that's being launched in the United States, and because everything's in English, and a lot of people just don't speak English, so they don't get the opportunity to get all this information, and so that's pretty much the goal of ours, to just bring all this information to people so that they can make their own choices. Like in the end, we never tell them what they should buy or what they shouldn't buy. We just tell them, look, this is what there's there. Now you can choose to get it or not. Like that is up to you.
So
We just explain how to do it.
so true. And I say even like the infrastructure, the technology in these more developing countries, it's not like the ease of access, like signing up to a Coinbase
Exactly.
crypto.com account. It
Exactly.
having like a plethora of like coins to choose from, and it's more reliable. It's not the same in South America, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, actually,
Yeah.
also our main goal is to try to educate people on how to use crypto right,
Hmm.
because
Yes.
every day we still see, even though we don't get the information, but at least when we make some videos explaining how things work, um, every day, even in English, or people that supposed to be whales, so that have more knowledge, you see market sales where they dump the price when they could get their exit point without hurting the price, and they still don't know how to do it. So
Yeah.
we just saw it like 2 days ago, 3 days ago. Somebody market sold Hex and put it down 20%,
Mhm.
when he could have come up with a lot more money if he could wouldn't market sell the 20 million Hex he sold.
Mhm.
And you were talking about that in the beginning, that try to make people or doing the right thing for actually in he, as you know, you're from Latin America. If probably a lot of people don't have 20 million Hex,
Yeah,
but
that's a lot.
it's a lot of Hex.
Yeah.
But
So,
they have a large sum, and if they make those same mistakes that the big guys make, when the price will rise up, they will end up with a lot less money. So it's like a goal of
Mhm.
ours to try to educate a lot of people on how to make it the best way possible for them to get out safely or come in the best way they can. And just looking at your page and all that, I'm seeing uh, ways in which they can get a lot of more value back from what they have, that if they use the traditional ways or
mhm.
ways that we only talk about, because a lot of people, including ourselves, are RH maximalists, and we
Mhm.
try until we are convinced that it's not a rock poll and it follows like the directives: not your keys, not your coins, no admin keys, no middleman, and all of the finished product.
Mhm.
Um, we don't like to give like the okay. So somebody, because even though if we put the streamers in Spanish, we are like three or four of us.
Mhm.
It's Rolando, Andric, myself. He used to be Crypto Profeta, but he's turning like doing
He
something
went rogue.
completely different.
He went rogue on the
And
community.
and there was Despide tu jefe,
Español.
Jefe
Mhm.
Español, y Despide tu jefe.
Mhm.
But of all of that, I guess that
Sometimes
the
we get some girls that also do it, but it's very
Mhm.
rare. One of them just became a mom, so so yeah, she's focused on something else.
Yeah,
But yeah,
and
our community in Spanish is very
yeah,
very small.
and the only people that actually talk about other products were Crypto Profeta,
Mhm.
Rolando, and us.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep.
but it is very difficult to like give the okay to a project, and especially in the Hispanic community, when most of the times they have fallen off, like you said, for scams. I've been myself victim of scams, and
Yep.
my guess is that you're from
Rock
Brazil,
balls. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
because I guess like you're from Brazil, and not to say something bad about your country, but I receive mails from Brazil, from Petrobras to invest on bonds on Petrobras, and that I'm sure they were
Uh-huh.
scams. And I'm sure maybe in other countries you receive mails from Mexico, from Pemex or something like that. It's gotta
Yeah.
be that way. But a lot of people fall for that kind of stuff, and if we are not knowledgeable of everything that's happening, and really focus on what's important and teach our Hispanic community what to look for, they might they're chasing the shiny thing, the new shiny thing. So this is why we try
Yeah.
to be very careful of things that we actually feel,
Mhm.
and have try to have conversations so we can present it to the community. I'm actually
And talk
surprised
to
that we
them.
have no. I'm actually surprised that we have 15 people joining all of a sudden,
Nice.
because
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people sometimes come back and see we get the views, but after we're live, and this is a good opportunity so
Yeah.
they can ask questions besides of whatever questions we have about your all the stuff we're
No.
going to talk about here.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So and now my first question here,
Mhm.
you because we were talking about on the green room about your first project.
Mhm.
Because I remember the name Pulselorian. when there was all this craziness about all the sacrifices and all these things that were happening. And then I remember seeing the name Pulselorian, and then honestly I forgot about it. I forgot about it. I just remember, obviously it stood out because of the Mandalorian. The name stood out, but then I completely forgot about it until I heard about Reflux. And I was like, okay, let me just take a look at Reflux. And then I saw Pulselorian, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that name. Like, but
That's good.
obviously I missed out on everything.
Yeah.
So can you tell us, like, how did it all get started, and what have you learned throughout the process? Because I did see in one of your interviews that you talked about it has been a learning process. Like you do something, then you realize that some things work, some things don't work as well, and then you move on to the next one, and you keep improving on that, right?
Yeah, most definitely. So yeah, blockchain is still in its infancy, right? Nobody truly, people are experimenting, they're deploying projects, exchanges, layer ones, and they're experimenting because truly there's no set formula for, hey, this is how you do a successful token or a successful layer
Exactly.
one or a successful exchange.
All we have is the criteria that Richard Hart has laid out.
Yeah,
Like, make sure there are no admin keys, make sure that it's immutable contract, make sure, like, all these different things, but the
as-
rest, like,
yeah. Aside from like the basics of like security and community being there, but like
yeah,
technology wise, there's no, like, people are still experimenting, adding different features. Like when Richard copied PulseX, he said, oh, why not introduce this type of fee to buy back and burn? That was something new, something minor,
yeah,
but like a game changer, right? um,
correct.
so we were one of the smallest sacrifices on PulseChain. When we saw it, okay, this is our opportunity. If we're gonna launch something, it's gonna be on this chain.
Uh-huh.
It's like the sacrifice thing is really hyped up. We could gather some attention there, and we chose
Uh-huh.
the Mandalorian type figure. We got an inspiration because one is something that we thought like something that a lot of people are into, especially the people who
Yeah,
are crypto. They like that kind of
and that
stuff.
we'll remember.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they'll remember. It established like that identity, that the Mandalorian figure is like the cypherpunk kind of thing. Like it's has its
yeah,
very identity. It's like battle tested, it's resilient, it's like oriented towards the future. So we that's why we chose that identity. Again, we weren't the
okay,
smallest sacrifices on Chain. We
yep,
well, the idea was just to start with one token, which was kind of a reflection type of token. and
uh-huh.
and but we are devs, we're creators. We don't want to just deploy one contract and then just stop there, right? Otherwise, where's the fun?
Yeah,
uh
yeah,
and and obviously, blockchain is something new, it's something you're constantly learning. So as we deployed, we learned lessons. And I think at the beginning, we were just trying to survive because PulseChain had all those delays. We had to launch on
yeah,
Ethereum, and Ethereum, to be honest, no small project can launch on Ethereum anymore because the fees are
yeah,
unsustainable, and that pretty much killed us. We had to. PulseChain was our lifeboat, and it literally like saved us,
yeah,
like RH saved Hex. He's saving like an entire community of people with like PulseChain, because paying like
yeah,
$100 even at before the start of the bull run, when like the market picks up a little bit for a single swap. I mean, who can do that? Very very few
yeah,
people can. And then so we started there, and then it's like it was a trial with like all the the delays, the fees, and then Richard Hart being sued by the SEC. So all this time we were just trying to, let's make sure we survive this. Let's make sure we keep our community loyal. And we're
mhm,
so glad that there's people that we saw, they stuck with us like from the beginning till now, like Armor, uh, yeah.
yeah,
And then just as an example, but other people too, truly. And then what was I gonna say? So yeah, and then but we kept developing, like the meme
mhm,
thing happened. Like we introduced another type of token that was like single side staking, because we wanted to do like a similar thing to Hex, uh
uh-huh,
because we wanted to make like an attractive yield where people could just stake, and then they were forced to lock it, not as much as Hex, but they would lock it for
yeah,
year, and there's a certain type of penalty that's with our tokens for Reflux, and they all have the meme feel because everything in crypto now is a meme. And then realized, okay, single site staking is not enough. There's need to be an incentive for liquidity. Then we did like PLP staking, and then we noticed, okay, but like people truly want Pulse, and then hence we started Reflux, but then we came up with the idea, okay, but just reflecting Pulse is not enough. We need to have some sort of incentive to liquidity providers.
We need to give it a stability.
Yeah, so it was a learning process, in terms of price. Sorry about my dogs if they're barking. They'll probably.
Yeah, that's all right.
And then it was a learning process, obviously. But all of our projects that we developed, they're working fine. Their store of value, as I see it, like they give like superior yield.
Yep.
If you test any other contracts, you'll see that the type of yield that you get, it's superior to the contracts that are out there. At least the one I've seen, like LBSKR, it's like over like 70% yield, and you get it already burned 0.6% of the supply. BSKR already burned 0.4% of 3.4% of the supply. It has a massive burn. We did a token in homage to Sami. He's an influencer that we like. So we just trying to deliver, safe, solid products instead of just like, 99% of what you see out there, even by big communities, like big projects with solid liquidity. They're just bare bones copy and paste code of like GoPulse or like an Open Zeppelin contract. And I think like if that's all you have to offer, it's like, okay, community is important, but you have to offer some more substance when it comes to game theory, contract, and truly bring something that's innovative to the space. And that's what I believe we did with Reflux and DaiX now. And we've branched more, even. Like, I don't want to get too deep, but we also introduced yield farming because we wanted to decentralize that liquidity and stimulate that liquidity through different pairs. We're adding governance to our platform. So and we'll keep developing, and we're like always taking the input from the community. So
one of the things that I really liked, because I started to dive into the Pulselorian ecosystem, if we can call it that, and I started looking into, for example, the farms that you have in here. And what I really liked about it was that you're not creating your own DEX. You're not creating your own liquidity pools in the sense of like creating like another PulseX ripoff. You know what I mean? It's like people rely on PulseX, and then just by using that and getting the PLP, then instead of staking it there, which on many of these they won't have the opportunity to do it. But for example, on this one here, which it has gone down. Last time I checked, it was like 79% or something like that. But the fact that it pays way more than paying in PulseX, I really like that, because the fact that you're still relying on PulseX, which is what people trust, but at the same time you can just come here and stake your PLP. And get more yield than what you would get in PulseX. Like, that's something that a lot of people don't know about it, and they should.
Yep, most definitely. So I think one of the things is like we focused on. We're definitely not going to try to compete. With, like, set up an exchange and compete with PulseX. I mean, like first, we won't succeed, basically, and
that's not gonna happen.
And we wanna uphold, and uplift, our H products and products that are being developed by the PulseChain community that we trust, like Internet Money, which is in our farms, like HOA, and other projects that we've been in touch and talking about adding it to our farms. And but we wanted to focus on what we thought could be like a competitive advantage and what we could truly offer of like value, like superior value proposition. And in our case, what we believe is like the passive income, the type of yield the type of
Yes.
transparency that people can have when they're dealing with our community, and then the store of value aspect. So and like the meme aspect, that all imbued into one. So we want to strive for giving people like a true cypherpunk type of community that focus on decentralization, like ending the fiat system, having no admin key, where anybody can set up a front end, where the contracts are publicly disclosed, where anybody can look into the code, where the liquidity is burned, the ownership is renounced. And then we actually, in the game theory, in the technology itself of the contracts, then we offer that superior value proposition when it comes to like this contract is going to become really scarce. It's going to provide a lot more yield. It's going to earn
Yeah.
you yield in the type of currency you want to earn. So that's what we focused on.
And
Yeah, and now
for one question, when let's see, for a lot of people or for the guys that will hear from us or view the video later, how would you explain to them
Mhm,
how is it that if you farm it on your platform
mhm.
gives you more yield than if you farm it on PulseX? How is that?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
a lot of people when they see it's like, oh, that looks like very nice, but I'll stay away because maybe they will rock my liquidity or
maybe
whatever.
maybe it's a scam, maybe yeah,
Exactly.
whatever.
There's one point. There's so many barriers to entry, right, to crypto. Even from like the aspect of like you setting up your own wallet, you having your hardware wallet, to getting into a
Yep.
knobby chain that's you have to bridge in your funds, right? And then into going into like start with the liquidity providing, and then once you do that, then you like
Yeah,
you can.
it's a whole world that they
It,
need to learn about. Yeah.
it truly is like an endeavor in terms of like learning, that it's not like you won't get there right away. And that's why we're setting up our community, because we want to help whoever's getting onboarded, from the very beginning, to whatever you might need, even up to like contract development. So it's like, even like when you're setting up a hardware wallet, when you're like having a problem, adding, removing liquidity, that type of stuff. But essentially, when you provide liquidity in PulseChain, right, in V1. And by the way, for the people who don't know, right, V1 had like a minor bug, and they had where the liquidity providers, they weren't earning their trading fees, they were just earning their
Yeah.
incentive token. But basically, what RH is doing, he wants to make sure that his exchange has a solid liquidity, right? That people can throw some PLS into a pool, take some PLS out of the pool. So the stronger the liquidity is, means the price is more stable, means you pay less
Yeah.
slippage. So he wants to incentivize people to stake, and add liquidity. And for that, he rewards people in an incentive token, right? And they just gain a new token that may or may not have value, that will be dictated by the market wanting to trade that token. And he obviously
Yeah.
further incentivizes that liquidity pool for that incentive token, so that people are also adding liquidity there, so it actually has tradable value. So so we're doing the same as the incentive token. Our contracts is actually based on the PulseX farms, right? So with some minor changes, right? So we're actually doing the same, but instead of granting out the incentive token that's granted out on PulseX, it's a extremely similar contract where you can get your LP and stake to get an incentive token. But in our case, we're providing the Elixir incentive token, which is also the governance token for the Pulselorian platform. The token itself, the governance aspect to it, it's already deployed, but we're still developing like the UI, which will be ready soon. So it's really not different at all from PulseX. The contracts itself, they're public. If you look into the contracts, you'll see like it does kind of the exact same thing. And
Okay, now
Yeah,
the question here
yeah.
is,
The question
why
is because
does
if you go to
Elixir
PulseX,
pay more
but
than Ink?
before that, if you go
Uh,
to the farms and PulseX,
mhm.
you see the PulseX WPLS that the LP is paying 5.84%.
Oh yeah.
And if you go to
And this one is
Pulselorian,
paying 39.
39%.
That's a good point.
So
Thanks.
that's
Why
exactly,
does it
that's the
happen?
question. If somebody comes in and says, and I mean,
Yeah,
like, how come the same LP and you use actually PulseX, but you only use the farms, but as
yeah.
they are connected to PulseX,
So
how come I can earn 39% if we're using the same platform? That's
yeah,
more like the question.
so that reward, that APR, it's dependent on a variety of factors, right? How there's usually a set emission rate of these incentive tokens, be it on PulseX, be it on Pulselorian website. So it will, mint one incentive token per second, or zero point 0.1 in our case,
Oh.
elixir per second, to be distributed, between all these pools. And obviously, all of these pools, they have a different allocation, right? This pool will receive 20% of the elixir that's minted. This pool will receive 5%, so forth. So this
Okay.
APR is one. It's dependent on this emission rate. It's dependent on
And the percentage that pool is receiving, that farm
yeah,
is receiving.
the allocation
Okay.
between the pools, and also is related to how much money is in that pool, right? So if you're distributing, let's say, $100 in rewards in that minted incentive token to like the PulseX Pulse pool, but there's $10,000 there, you're getting 1%. But that's if there's $5,000 there, you're getting 2%, right? So since our project is smaller, there's less money in our pools. Obviously, we are able to pay a higher yield. Obviously, as more money comes in, assuming the price is constant, those APY may drop, right? But it's all a function of the price of the token itself as well. If Elixir token goes up in price, now the APR goes up. So there's a variety of factors
Okay.
that take place.
That determine.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think one advantage of our pools in that case that you brought up is, as you mentioned, like PulseX, it pays you, it's the same token, right? Pulse and PulseX. It's paying you around 6%, 7% on the PulseX farm itself. And
Yeah.
that's E1. You don't earn the trading fees. You just earn the incentive tokens. In our case, you stake the
Yeah,
V.
because you'll be on V1,
Yeah.
correct?
In our case,
Yeah.
we okay. That's something that, since we got to do it a little bit after they had like
Yeah.
that issue, we said, okay, you get to stake the V2 pair, which you earn the trading fees plus you earn the elixir. And since our farms are smaller, you can earn even higher APR. And in terms of risk, it's practically the same. The only thing is that our farms, we take a small fee there, but it should be recoverable fast due to the higher APR. And
Yeah. Okay, so that makes sense.
yeah,
Because on V2, you only receive part of whatever the transactions are happening,
yeah,
but you don't receive any incentive token.
yeah,
So
correct.
so by coming here and putting it in here, then you're pretty much getting the best of both worlds.
Exactly.
That's pretty much what's happening.
Yeah, and the opportunity will last, as more people know about it, like the market will dictate like that APR. Truly, we've seen, like, ever since we launched the farms, and this is the lowest it's been so far, 39% on comparison to 6-7%.
Which means that more people are getting in there.
Yeah, more people, but that APR was the 100 plus. And you see, if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see farms that are still paying a lot, like WPLS.
Yeah,
21,
WPS DAI
143.
119%.
Yeah, and WPLS Ethereum, which are also safe
111.
options,
Yes.
paying over 100%. So
This the Reflux one. This one's a good one that will invite people to join into that one later on.
yeah. So yeah, and it's a great way to, once you provide liquidity, you're actually strengthening that project, right? You're adding to the price stability, and it's actually the right way to invest in crypto, right? In my opinion, my humble opinion, because when you're mitigating your risk, right, by being in the market, the way to do that, you want to earn some type of fees, right? And that's why you're being a liquidity provider. You're not earning just the trading fees from people that are trading, but you're also earning an incentive token for allocating that liquidity into different projects.
Yeah. Now you mentioned something about renouncing ownership. I think that's a very important thing to explain a little bit,
Yeah.
because we are used to Richard Hart saying about the OA, you know what I mean? And he talks about he may slap you for doing that, because he usually says centralization is not bad, it's actually good when you're talking about centralization of the monetary power, not centralization over the decisions and all those things. But you guys are renouncing all of it. So there is no OA, there is no like no owner that holds most of the coin or something like that, right?
Yeah, correct. In our tokens contracts, they're all ownership renounced. There are, to be more specific, there are a couple of
Mhm.
functions, but nothing that would like there that can do changes to the protocol, but those can be changed
Uh-huh.
only by the Elixir governance, by people actually
Oh,
voting on chain. And
okay.
but none of these functions are functions that would like stop people from trading, that type of thing, which is what would
Yeah.
cause rug pull. It's this minor stuff, it's like changing like in for example DaiX case, that you can change like the swap factor and how frequently you distribute the rewards, type of thing. Or
Okay.
in the case for our farms is uh,
The
people who
allocation
open a
of
token, they can vote on the allocation of the rewards, but nothing in the
okay.
sense where like you stake, you cannot unstake, right? Or type of thing.
Yeah,
What people are really afraid about, or like pulling away the liquidity, type of thing. So
exactly.
yeah, I wanted to mention that like our contracts are renounced. We always publish the transaction link, and you can verify it on chain, obviously, because
Mhm.
we believe in true decentralization, right? We believe that if something has to work, it will come to a point that like uh, people might not be there, and that thing has to function for years and years, because this is like truly revolution in the way we exchange value throughout the world, and these currencies will be there for like 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years, so so it needs to be something that's decentralized.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, that makes sense.
yeah,
Now, next question, because it relates to what we were talking before. Um, Most of our community are Richard Hart maxis,
yeah.
right? We're all about Hex, PulseChain, PulseX, Inc., and anything that Richard Hart says. That's what we take like gospel.
Mhm.
Anything else is like we're very distrustful of many of these other coins. And this is one of the things that I said in one of the in our Telegram group, that I said, you when you're approaching them with a new coin, people are like whipped dogs. Like they're just very scared because they've already been scammed, they've already been rug pulled, they've already like even we have.
Yeah.
So um how do you go about this?
So that's the hardest part. I think it's once you gain like people's like trust and loyalty, then they feel comfortable and like really deploying some money, and then also like remaining committed to that investment, right? Buying it like over time.
Yeah.
So I think that is something that just comes through like time in the market, like really
Yeah.
seeing that you're there trying to add value, not trying to scam everybody, because
Yeah.
and that's what happened with Richard, right? Like Richard was being called a scammer for so many times. Nobody believed him in the start, even though he was like the
Yeah.
most knowledgeable guy. And then only after like the 3 years flawless operation, 10,000x contract is working flawlessly. Like, okay, respect. Like
Yeah.
it is like a
And
legit.
still some people distrust him because of the existence of the OA, which
Yeah,
is something that you guys just threw out of the window, pretty much.
true, true. And it's the same with like Bitcoin. There's still people who distrust Bitcoin. So there's also some level of like,
Yeah.
trust and risk taking. But obviously you have to do your due diligence. And like the longer the team is out in the market, trying to give out value and not scamming everybody, then people start gaining trust in that team. And also you actually have to provide something that's like superior value, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
why will I invest in Reflux when I have Hex, that pays me 30% yield?
Right.
And is working flawlessly, that I know. And then that's why we came in with Reflux. Okay, we have to offer, not saying that it's better than Hex, but it's an alternative and it's different, and that it can
Right.
actually offer some value in terms of like the tokens that are out in the market.
Yeah, one of the reasons of why I actually even make videos about reflux and stuff is because people want Pulse.
Mhm.
Like that's what people want right now. Because many in the community, they already have Hex, but maybe they didn't get into the sacrifice. Maybe they missed out on the sacrifice. Maybe I don't know, whatever happened, and so they didn't get as many Pulse as they wanted. And so what I'm telling them here is like, look, I'm not telling you to pull all your bag and put it into Reflux, because it's still a risk. Everything is a risk in crypto. But give it a go, and maybe you just won't run out of gas. Like, start there.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Recommendation is, set it up from a new wallet, that's not
Exactly.
connected to any of your accounts. Throw something that's money that you can afford to lose, and always not financial advice. Do your own due diligence. But you can see, once you, like in our case, what we see, as you said, like everybody wants Pulse, because everybody knows that
Yes.
like Pulse X, that'll be like an easy like 10x, right off the bat.
Yeah.
People are shooting for more, 30, 50, 100x. So it's like, why am I
Yeah.
taking so much risk in all of these new coins when I can just buy Pulse, right? And Pulse is what everybody wants. It's the thing that will always be
Correct.
there. It runs the blockchain. So the
Yeah.
only ways to really get Pulse is being a node validator. There's extreme like learning curve there, extreme like upfront investment in terms of hardware cost 32 million Pulse at least. And then the other way is like being a liquidity provider. There's also some initial like learning curve as well, and there's the risk with like impermanent loss and everything else. So in our case, we offer a token that pays passive income in Pulse, and the type of yield that we're seeing is yield that's superior to validator nodes. And the way you can invest it is just buy the token, and you'll start earning effortlessly Pulse in your wallet. And that's done through a reflection type of process, right? It takes a tiny fee when you buy or sell, and then that fee gets redistributed to holders. Or you can provide liquidity, which is an even safer way to be on the protocol, because you're pairing it with Pulse. So if the price goes up, you'll just end up with more Pulse. So yeah, it's truly like a really, really easy way to earn Pulse. You don't have to do anything, literally. The APY is higher than a node validator, and it's a form of, you always have gas fees, to trade on the market, because you always run into that situation where like, oh, I'm trying to place a trade, I have no gas, I have to send it from another wallet. Just leave some Reflux RFX in your wallet, and it will be accruing some PLS. And for I'll end now because I think I'm talking too much. But the type of returns you can check, like obviously we have on the webpage, there's an address checker. You can see how much
You can just go here. You go to products, Reflux.
There's a
and here people can just put their wallet address as long as they have Reflux there.
And you can see that people,
and here it will show you.
You can check for any wallet that holds Reflux on the blockchain, how much they're earning, and you see wallets that earn in the millions, and they practically, obviously, because these fees, these Pulse, they're dependent on the volume, right? Is whenever somebody buys or sell, that we redistribute this Pulse. So the higher the volume, like the higher the rewards, right? And obviously in the first few days, the people who got in early, there was really high volume because everybody's trying to chase that pump, trying to make a profit. They earn in the millions, and we, within 1 month of project, we were able to distribute 460 million Pulse already, which is quite an achievement.
A lot.
Yeah. Yeah, in just a month.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. Uh, I had another question that I just forgot.
About
¿Quieres
that,
preguntarlo?
yes, about that. Where, asking for like the people that probably gonna ask me this, or I'm gonna ask it on the next video. Where does that pulse come from?
So yeah, I'm rushing like a little bit on the explanation. So feel free to slow me down. I need to rush a little bit, and I think for like people who are
Mhm.
not as not as experienced in crypto, sometimes all of that we're saying about liquidity pools, like this passive income can go like over people's head. So
Well,
it's
I
very
hope that
simple.
people actually watch my videos on my YouTube channel because there I explain everything, so that when they come to here to have this conversation, at least they have an idea of what we're talking about. I
Yeah.
hope so.
Okay,
If you
that's
haven't
great.
watched,
That's
you
great.
have to watch it
That's
in
great.
Spanish and
So,
go back to my other videos.
so it's very simple, really. Whenever you buy the token, you pay a 2% fee. We call it a pay it forward fee, right? We don't want to say the term reflection because I know some people don't like that term because there involves a fee.
Some people
But
will see it as a tax. Let's call
yeah,
it like a tax
it
thing
really
that
is
you
a
have to pay for
small.
every time you transact.
Yeah, but it really is such a small fee, like 2%. You easily
Yeah.
recover that. Um, so so when people buy or sell, they're paying 2% fee, and that fee, obviously, that the fee, the reflux gets swapped for PLS, right? And that PLS gets redistributed to all holders of the token and the liquidity providers themselves as well. And then from that fee, actually 0.25% of that fee is burnt forever. It's sent to an address that nobody can access on the blockchain, meaning the supply is always diminishing over time. So you're holding an asset that will preserve your purchasing power. It's always becoming more scarce over time. And then you're earning that yield that whenever somebody places a trade in the market, that fee that people are paying, it gets distributed to all holders. And then obviously, the more trading activity, the more these fees get distributed, the more the network, the user base grows, the more fees are able to be generated. And then and there's another point to it, like the way that those fees get distributed. One, it's done in a round robin fashion. It goes like one by one, 20 holders at a time. Like whenever somebody sells, it only triggers that distribution when somebody sells, and it's actually done minimally. Because we don't want to negatively impact the price, right? So when you swap reflux for PLS, you're actually selling a little bit of reflux. So we do it minimally, and we actually front run the seller because we want to keep the holders. The sellers, you're basically getting out of the project, right? You're taking a profit. And we saw some people cash in, like who got in early, tens of thousands of dollars in under a month, with like couple $100 investment. Those that really got in early. So that was amazing to see. And is what we want to see, right? People like actually cashing
Yep.
out like decent profit. So it actually, so this is all the genius behind our contract developer, which I said has like 30 years of programming experience. He did it in a way that like when distribute these rewards, it actually front runs the sellers to make sure it gets the optimal price, and it does it minimally to impact the price, so that people that are receiving those rewards, they are receiving it at the best potential to so that's a little bit about the process. There's more to the contract if you'd like to go and me to go into the accelerator aspect of the contract, or if you want to talk about.
Ne- yeah, but before we get into that,
Yeah.
one of the main questions that I received about this, which kind of has already been explained with what you just said, but but people want to hear it like a direct answer. What's the difference between Reflux and say Safe Moon or many other reflection tokens that have come out and then they crashed and like whatever? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like, what's the main difference?
yeah, I think like what people they don't like, and why I think people um have like
Distrust.
reflection tokens have like sort of a stigma in the market. One, because like one major reflection token got hacked. Some of them got hacked, like, and then it just,
Yeah.
so that's one. It causes a stigma, but and then two is because they're afraid like that taxation, that little fee that gets taken on the buy or sell, it
Yeah.
cannibalizes the supply and the liquidity pool, and
Yeah.
and but in Reflux that is not the case. So and then for long-term price stability and sustainability of the project, right, we want to
Mhm.
incentivize the liquidity to be as strong as possible. So we're actually redefining what a reflection token is, and we are redefining it in terms of like, hey, don't think of it as a reflection token. Think of it as a passive income token that you receive pulse. And another thing is that these reflection tokens, earlier reflection tokens like SafeMoon, they don't reflect pulse; they reflect themselves. So you're just
Exactly.
yeah, you're just holding more of the token itself, and there's a risk also that those who got in early, they end up acquiring a huge chunk of it that constantly grows bigger and bigger and bigger, and it just hurts the people that are coming afterwards. In our case,
Yeah.
it truly is different. You wanted to say something, Andrew?
Yeah, that's pretty much, I would say, one of the main criticisms of people that have for Hex,
Mhm.
that they criticize the fact that many OGs got in early in time, and
Yeah,
they earn more Hex, right? And then they sell all the Hex and they dump on other people. So that's pretty much the same logic of the criticism with regular reflection tokens.
yeah, yeah. I think, yeah, that's kind of like a benefit of being early too. So not really
Yeah,
blame people for that, but it's more like the cannibalization aspect of like
yeah,
taking the fee out of the liquidity pool, and then it reflects itself, so you end up selling the token afterwards
exactly.
as well. But Reflux is actually, it's an entirely different thing. People, like, please don't associate it with like reflection token. It's a passive income token where you earn pulse, because the
Yeah,
way we do this reflection, you're incentivized to provide liquidity, and we actually
yeah,
pay a fee twice for the liquidity providers. So when
yeah,
people provide liquidity, they're actually also placing their tokens up for sale in the market. So those whales that got in early, they want to earn more pulse. That's why they will provide, probably most likely provide liquidity. Obviously, you can do a combination of strategies, either hold or provide liquidity. There's none. It's a personal choice. But
mm,
so they're putting up the reflux and the pulse as liquidity. They're strengthening the price. They're making the liquidity more solid. They're actually decentralizing the liquidity. So in our case, we have over 100 liquidity providers already. Whereas in comparison
mm.
to other tokens in the market, even tokens that reflect pulse itself, they have like 6 liquidity providers. It's just like almost 20 times more. It's it's
Wow.
it, and that's what you want to see. You want to see that the liquidity is decentralized, where nobody can, even though our majority of our liquidity is already burnt, you also don't want to see like
Yeah,
one big player take a huge chunk out of the liquidity. You want to make sure it's decentralized. So you earn more rewards, more posts for providing liquidity. When you're doing that, the whale is putting their reflux for sale, basically, and it helps new entrants get in and get a larger share of that reflux and decide whether they want to hold it or they want to provide liquidity as well. And it's just a positive cycle of like good investment practices. You're providing liquidity, you're
mhm,
strengthening the price, you're locking in your share rate, so you don't want to sell, because otherwise you'll lose that share rate. Because
yeah,
once you get in higher, you don't get as many shares, and that's what dictates how much of those pulse rewards you're going to get. And then
mm,
finally, it mitigates risk. When you're adding liquidity, if it goes down less, right? And then if it goes up, you
yeah,
earn more pulse. Obviously, there is some impermanent loss, but at the end of the day, you want pulse. So you're essentially averaging yourself
yeah,
out of the market, having more pulse in your hands, and you you also earn the trading fees. You earn the 2x the rewards, and and you're making the protocol stronger, the price stronger. So
Yeah.
it's a ton of like game changing theory, and there's actually more to it, right? With the accelerator and um,
There's also an NFT coming, right?
and then
That you said that it was also related to that,
yeah,
or is that going to be something completely different?
no, it's going to be related to Reflux, and it's also going to help the protocol.
Okay, all right. I, let me see. Okay, yeah. Now, other people, like when they see the charts, they're like, "Oh, yeah, you can see how the price goes down, and then that meant that it was a rug pull or something like that." Um, Not necessarily a bad price performance means that it was a rug pull or that it was a scam. It's just that people are getting out.
Mhm.
However, we still see activity in those coins, which means that they're still generating. Is that correct?
Correct. And that's actually another interesting aspect of Reflux, right? Since we only distribute these rewards when users sell,
Hmm.
right? These reflections. So one, you have to be a holder to get it. Like, so you're incentivized to stay
Hmm.
within the. So essentially, and if people sell and they start dumping the price, right? What happens is people start receiving a lot more reflections, right? Because that's when people start
Okay.
getting all of that pulse passive income. And that's what really attracts people into the project and want to make sure they stay in. So once the price is
Yeah.
coming down, people are like, oh, now I'm getting reflections. Now I want to buy more because one, the price is cheaper, and two, I'm earning more pulse. So I can get that pulse,
Okay.
compound my investment, buy more RFX, sustain the price. So that's also really interesting aspect of the protocol, which I like. I'm not sure I answered the question, but was it
Yeah. At least for me, I don't know if my brother has any further questions about it.
No,
yeah.
no, no.
I
I'm good.
particularly I love when people sell Reflux because that's when I start receiving a lot more pulse, and I can buy, I can
Yeah.
start compounding my reflections and buy more pulse, more Reflux, more DaiX, and I can also take a little bit pulse out of the market, do a liquidity pool, pulse X, and type of thing,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that is awesome. Now we have here Salvador. He's asking, what would be the best strategy for reflux? Well, it's hard to say what's the best strategy because it depends on each person's goals. But what I would call it the most conservative strategy, like the safest strategy, would be just buy reflux and hold it. That's what I think. Unless you unless you will say something different.
No, no. As I said, like you, I cannot provide any financial advice, right? I always make the disclaimer, and it's truly
Yeah.
there's different personality styles when it comes to crypto investing. There's different strategies, time frames, risk tolerance, and appetite. So yeah, I mean, the easiest way is to just buy Reflux, but if you want to check out what LP providing is like, you can LP provide. You can experiment. Have two different wallets. One you hold Reflux, one you and both will perform like better or worse depending on different market circumstances, right? So nobody really knows, right? And you can do a combination of both, right? So, but that would be for your own research and yep.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that pretty much covers what I had. So, would you like to explain what's coming? What's the accelerator? What like the whole more
Yeah,
technical aspect of it? How it
definitely.
works?
There's so much more to Reflux. And Andre, I don't want to take too much of your time, obviously, but like one of the things that
No,
helps,
it's fine.
yeah, one of the things that helps Reflux as well that we set up, it's we're building an ecosystem, right? So everything that we're
Yes.
adding, it's because we believe it will add some sort of value to the protocol. So
Hmm.
one thing with the Reflux is we also set up yield farming, which we explained earlier. So you can also not
Yeah.
just earn like the pulse by providing liquidity with a PLS pair. You can also stake it
Hmm.
in the farms to earn elixir, right? So you can stake it with Pulse X, you can stake it with DAI, you can stake it with DAI X. And the reason why we do that is because one, it's decentralizing the liquidity throughout different pairs. And what that happens
Yep.
is like in the market, there's bots, that they look for different price discrepancies in the market, and if there's an arbitrage opportunity where they can buy some reflux with some PLS in one pool, which is paired with a different coin, and sell it in another pool for more PLS, and there's a tiny profit there. Bots will find that opportunity and they will execute a trade, right? And that's what we want, because the trade will generate volume, it will generate passive income, it will trigger a sell, it will trigger that distribution of the passive income. So so that's why we said, one, we have this yield farming, incentivizing people to decentralize this liquidity through different pairs, so we can have more arbitrage, more volume generation. And the other one is what you mentioned, is the accelerator, right? So what is the accelerator? It's actually another protocol built on top of RFX Reflux, and what it does is it was community funded initially. It already contains over 2.5% of the supply there, which is very reasonable, very big amount. It's more than we burnt already, and that supply will essentially be locked. It doesn't leave that contract, right? So it's considered burnt. So yeah, there's
so that would be here.
Yeah, there's 25 million coins, and what happens there, it essentially acts as a benevolent actor within the protocol, benevolent whale, since it has so much supply. So like everybody else accrues PLS, this contract also accrues PLS, right? And then with that accrued PLS, once it reaches a threshold of 100,000 PLS, anybody can the button appears on the website asking for you to accelerate the contract, and then it uses that PLS to buy more RFX or add it to liquidity if there's already a threshold of RFX in the market, in the contract. And then the user who accelerates the contract, he earns also 5% PLS rewards. So for basically just accelerate the protocol. So
so whoever gets in first, they just click on it, they will earn a reward, and it will help everybody.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's how it works. Okay.
And then it's been accelerated many times already, and what it does, every time it accelerates, it accrues PLS, it just buys more RFX and takes it off the market, or adds it to liquidity. And liquidity is also off the market. So it's essentially a benevolent actor that never stops buying, never stops adding to liquidity. And the more it grows, the more it accrues, and it has a kind of a snowball effect, just sucking up.
And does it do that automatically? Like it automatically buys and sets liquidity, or what are the rules in there?
Triggered by the user, right? So once it reaches that threshold, that there's enough PLS to buy more or add to liquidity, then whoever clicks the button is triggering the contract, and then they're receiving a reward for that.
And it will ask them, do you want to just do the buy or add liquidity?
It will appear a button, see where it says filling up a gas tank, accelerator not available yet. Once it becomes available, once there's 100K PLS there, then a button appears, and then you can just click accelerate and confirm on your MetaMask, and nothing else. And then the contract will just buy RFX up and add to liquidity.
Oh, it does everything automatically.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's the user.
That's awesome.
It's the user who triggers it. We did it like that. It's just kind of like a PulseX buy and burn feature, right? When there's enough liquidity spread throughout those like pairs that have been capturing some fees, somebody goes there, buys and burns, and then it just converts those tokens to PLSX and sends it to that address. So that's one, and then there's another one, another feature in the development, which is our NFTs. And the NFT will have a mint for them, and obviously they'll be sold for a particular amount of PLS, and whatever amount of PLS we raise from these 5,555, alluding to Hex, NFTs. It goes into like straight up market buying RFX, and that RFX will be it will be essentially locked up and burned forever. So a portion of that RFX will go to further fund, a small portion, obviously, further fund the accelerator, another portion goes to our CMM contract, which actually I have not talked about, but it's also a contract that it just plays a minor role, but it's some of that PLS that gets accrued on the accelerator. It also gets sent to the CMM, and the CMM, what it does is just place trades on the market to improve our transaction count, improve our reflections. So it's a continuous market maker, just place buys and sells.
So it is like so many pieces of a puzzle that are starting to work together.
Exactly.
That's the idea.
Yeah, and then the majority of that RFX will go to NFT staking contract, right? And it will be kind of a second accelerator. So it'll also be locked there and accruing PLS. And that PLS, whenever somebody accelerates that second contract, they will receive, the NFT holders, they'll receive a portion proportional to their NFTs of PLS. So it's a way to just add a ton of buy pressure into the market, raising a price and locking up a ton of RFX out of the market too. And and NFT holders will receive PLS, free PLS. So that's still in development, but there's already on our website a teaser of how these NFTs are looking like, and we also released on Twitter.
Where can we see that here on NFTs?
Yep. Yeah. And then there's a small teaser of what they're looking like. And also on Twitter, we released a video which is more in depth with like more parts that we actually already developed, with all the 5,555 NFTs and, displayed on a grid and like how users can see their own NFTs. So it's coming soon. And there's just a ton of like exciting development down the road. So
there's going to be 5,555 NFTs.
Correct. And
you get to and
will
keep going.
Yes, basically, yeah. They will earn, which is what everybody wants, right? Pulse. So you mint. Obviously, you're doing a lot of help to the protocol by minting that NFT. Because one small portion will get sent to the accelerator. But majority of it's like having RFX always accruing in your wallet, except it's locked, but it will always be receiving PLS. But you'll be helping the protocol.
And so when you say it's locked, does it mean that you can't sell it, or what does it mean by the NFT being locked?
You won't be able to, like, the NFT itself. You can sell it, obviously, and the NFTs will have like secondary market value by themselves. But the RFX will stay in a second accelerator contract, accruing that PLS so that it can distribute that PLS to the accelerators.
Okay, so if, say, for example, one NFT
similar to what Hedron did, right, with their NFT, that last man standing.
Now, I would say it's more like if you have an NFT and say that NFT is worth 1,000 refluxes, it will always be worth 1,000 refluxes, and it will pay what 1,000 refluxes give you. Is that what you mean by law?
Yeah, we'll pay a little bit less because a portion is going to be designated to our accelerator, but it will also be in a second accelerator, which will be also acquiring more reflux over time. So that PLS will also, the PLS payout, assuming there's demand for the token and volume, it will tend to increase over time as well, right? Because it's going to be a huge chunk. Because if we manage to sell like 5,000 NFTs, it's going to be a huge like whale like hitting the market, just gobbling up all the RFX in the market, and it should have
all the RFX.
But again, no forward-looking statement, not financial advice. Do your own. I always have to say that.
Because you can't promise any sort of earnings of any kind.
No promises.
But what we can say is that there is a lot of potential. Considering the dynamic of it, it's a good moment to get in before this all launches, because just by launching it, it can potentially make something a good splash. Let's call it that.
Most definitely.
Okay. Well, I really like what I'm seeing here. Like I said before, and this is something that, like I said, the community is very hesitant to jump into some random project,
Yeah,
because we know what how crypto is like. Is the Wild West. You
yeah,
never know who's gonna be like trying to scam you, anything like that. But the fact that you show your face, that from the very beginning, all your products are here, and you keep building,
yep,
that means that you're not going away. Right.
yep.
And so that to
Those-
me is like the main thing. uh, People may or may not like the project. That's up to them. But the fact
Yep.
that you're here, that you're showing it, that we can see everything. There is transparency on everything that you guys are doing. I think, at least for me, that inspires a sense of trust, and
It's
therefore there is really, um, it's just a matter of if people like it or not, like if they want to support this type of project, or if they want to support something else. Like, there's a lot of projects going on PulseChain. A lot of them are more, at least what I have seen, that get the most support is the ones that are more about like exchanges, like Fox. Yeah, like Fox. What's the other one that just came up? A red one, I don't remember. But like all those that are like exchanges, dexes, those kind of things, or tools to check, like GoPulse, like all those, which are platforms that are like tools to help people. Like, that's what I have seen, that most people tend to support, because it kind of like gives more value to the ecosystem that Richard Hart has built. And they tend to distrust more when it comes to tokens and things like that, because you never know what's going on in there.
yeah,
But the fact that you're here, and that you're showing all of this, and we didn't get to talk about DaiX, which is pretty much Reflux just pasting Dai. That would be the sum of it.
minor changes. We also did like minor improvements with
Uh-huh.
IX, with like things that we learned on Reflux. Even though we love
Uh-huh.
Reflux, it's working great. But like we actually increased a little bit like the reflection, so you actually earn a little bit more on
Okay.
DIX. So it pays 2.5% on the sell. So there's minor.
Okay.
But yeah, it's usually the same. Yeah, but pays you in DAI, so everybody can get paid in stable coin, and it's like you're parking your money there and you're receiving
Yeah.
because it's stable. Uh, and then, but yeah, I agree 100% with you.
Yeah.
That's a barrier is to earning people's trust, and that's why I'm so thankful for like influencers like yourself, like Corey, like Brandon from Rags to Riches, and like
Yeah.
Vibra Finance, like
Yeah.
everybody that like extended like gives people like take that risk, to because otherwise you're just like
Yeah.
also like, saying what everybody else is saying, like you just okay, we're talking about
Correct.
hacks, but when truly there can be more like good projects, and post chain needs that, right? Post chain needs more projects,
Exactly.
so so that's awesome. And but ultimately we could build like the best code in the world, but it's the
Mhm.
community that drives the project forward, and the community is
If they
everybody.
see
There's
the value in it. Yeah.
yeah, it's the person who likes and retweets, which makes that post get more visibility, and somebody sees it. It's you, Andric, which is like hosting us a space, giving us opportunity to reach like people from Mexico and like other Spanish communities. And yeah, that's the best part. It's yep.
Yeah. Now about this question, can you talk a little bit more about the governance?
Yep. The governance.
I don't know
I,
if they have any specific question about it. Like, if you have any specifics, just put it in here, so that he doesn't start talking about something that maybe is not answering the question. But yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I posted earlier today on the Reflux Telegram chat actually a screenshot of what like the
Uh-huh.
governance is kind of looking like. Um,
Mhm.
but contracts are deployed on chain. If you're a guy who's code savvy, you can check what the governance contract is doing. But it's basically
Uh-huh.
certain functions in certain contracts, such as our farms, they can be slightly tweaked by the governance contract. Is the only contract that can change these functions, and they're usually changed by a proposal and a vote that passes on chain. And that vote is basically how much elixir, the governance token, you hold in your wallet, and then depending how much you hold, you have a say on your yay or nay, whether that vote will pass or not. Obviously, you hold more, you have more influence. And then the only way to earn elixir is either buying on the market or yield farming on Pulselorian. And then you can have somebody can propose like, okay, I want the elixir farm to increase their rewards, and then they can pass a proposal. People will vote on chain with their MetaMask. Basically, their balance, that elixir they hold, will represent their vote. And then at a particular block height, right? And the blockchain is everything. It's based on blocks. At a particular block height, that vote will either pass or not pass. And then if it passes, a function will be executed on the other contract, which will, like, let's say now Elixir PLS, it's no longer receiving 10x allocation of rewards, it's receiving 12x, or it's receiving 15x. Or let's say,
which is what we see here.
Yeah, or let's say
exactly what we see here.
Or let's say the mint rate is 0.1 per second. People might say, hey, we want to increase the mint rate to 0.2 per second, kind of like the Fed does, or decrease that mint rate, or stop that mint rate. So yeah, and then and same of like adding or removing a farm, and then the case of DaiX contract that you can change that swap factor. So basically, yeah, that's basically it.
Yeah, and what token will use to participate? That would be Elixir, right?
Yeah. Yep, correct. It's the Elixir is the governance token, is the one that you earn on the yield farming. And so if you want to have a say on which farms are being added, how the allocation is doing, you want to hold that token, right? And by holding that token, you're also helping to sustain the price of Elixir,
Yeah.
Which is great. It's a win-win, right? Sustain the price of Elixir means like more people like get attracted to that farm, and then because now it's paying more yield because people are not selling, and then like they can start making those tweaks.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up. And I don't know if my brother here has any other further questions, or anyone here in the chat. They can leave their questions here, so that let's take advantage of having him here, so that he can answer those questions. So yeah, let's just give it a few minutes for questions.
I think you pretty much cover everything. It sounds a very easy way to earn without, well, not without risking, but with very low risk, because of the things that we talk about. And I don't see being like rocket science or whatever else to use the system. So I guess we gotta make more videos available in Spanish to go step by step how to even, for example, connect to a different wallet besides MetaMask, because we know I don't use MetaMask, but automatically runs on Ravi. But for example, for people that use internet money, the way to connect it's a little bit different.
Yeah, for sure. So currently, our website, you only connect it through MetaMask, right? It's the one I think people use the most. But yeah, we do have intentions to add other wallets to the website in the future. That's on the pipeline. It's just we're focused on like delivering these NFTs, like government.
The actual products first.
Yeah. But
and then polishing it.
Enhancing, and as we said, the contract's like decentralized. So if there's like a guy who's like really good on front end and he can set up things really fast, he can make like a better website, a better front end, and then to anybody can. And that's what we want to encourage as well. Like, so we have specific disclaimer on the website about decentralization. We always say that Florian project, there's actually no team behind it whatsoever. There's no zero effort. It's actually just people who believe in this cypherpunk movement, who believe in these decentralized contracts. They're just putting out their efforts in the best way they can. Some are speakers, some are developers, some are investors. So, yep.
Yeah, and that was one question that I forgot to write down, but I had it in my head. Um, who is Pulselorian? Is it only you? Is it a team of people? Is it only you and one developer? Or putting aside the people in the community, like the ones that are developing, how many people are there? Where they come from? Like, what's the idea?
Yeah, so there aren't many developers. There's there were 3 developers at a time. Right now
Mhm.
it's currently Ramord. Obviously, we trust him the most with the contracts because
Yep,
obviously a seasoned
he's good.
developer with 30 years of experience. I said, leading global tech teams, and I'm the
Mhm.
one developing the front end. And then we also had some community managers, people that are helping out on the marketing at the start. With
Mhm.
we started with about six, 7 people, and a lot of them
Okay.
just trying to help out, in whichever way they could, with setting up Twitter Space, But it truly is a community project. So as I said, there's no team really. It's just
Okay.
contract developers and that are liking the protocol, and then they develop stuff. They enable a front end here. Might see a dashboard pop.
Okay.
Who knows who developed it?
And
Maybe it's us. Maybe it's.
and that and the mastermind behind it, like the one with the ideas of, hey, let's create this. Was that you directly, and then you found all these people to help you out?
It's the community. It's a community. It's
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
people posting ideas on the chat, people giving
Okay.
business type suggestions. Oh, I think you should market it this way. But I always extend 100% of the credits to Ramord. As I said,
Uh-huh.
guy's brilliant developer. He doesn't like to he has more developer personality. He doesn't like to be much on the spaces and stuff. He's on the spaces. He
Yeah.
just
Yeah. Yeah.
be online as much. But I mean, he's publicly available. He's shown his face as well, and
Yeah.
uh, but he just prefers to focus on the development. And but yeah, and yeah, he is the one. For example, he was the one who developed this like for me really innovative, game changing aspect of Reflux. So
Okay. So he came up with a game theory of it.
definitely,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
if you want any technical, really, really, really technical, aspects of the
Uh,
content itself, just reach out
uh-huh.
to Word on Telegram, and he will go detail by detail. He's always present there.
How it's worked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then
Yeah. I've seen him answer a few of my questions here there in the group.
yeah,
So if which, by the way, I just need to let people know which group that is.
yeah, and
I have the
we
link in
we
here.
always like to strive for transparency. So whether you're a new investor, whether you have questions, whatever type of questions, you can just reach out on Telegram. And if you need, even if you need to set up a call,
Yep.
a face to face, we're here because we want to onboard more people, and we want to bring people into what we believe it's a safe, superior product, but also to
Mhm.
PulseChain. So so yeah, we're here for the community, whatever we can do to help out the protocol, because it's going to be a community effort in the long run, right? uh,
Yeah.
More people help out, the more we grow, and it's still so early in my opinion, because bull
Yeah,
run.
that is something that is something that I was, because you see all the graphs, right? That they show, like, oh, these are the coins that have been developed, and these are the influencers, and these are all these different things. And I think it's a beautiful phenomenon that's happening, at least in Pulse Chain, the way it is, because you see so many people, they're just passionate about it. And for example, I understand technology, but I will never be at the level of a developer. Like, just that's not my thing. But my
Mhm.
thing is, because I understand it, I can explain it, right? And so that is my thing, and that's why people like my channel, because I can explain things that are can be very complex, just bring them down in a very simple to digest way. and just like I do it, like there are so many other people that they may not be good at developing, but they're good at communicating. Other people are good at just being developers, but like you said, this guy, he doesn't like being in front of a camera. So but his thing is creating, right? So when we see all that, like it's I don't know, like it's a really good phenomena that I see here.
You,
And one thing that I think is what many Richard Hart maxis are missing out on is that yes, we have an amazing community. PulseChain is one community, but within the community there are micro communities, and many of them are just like shoved away
sure.
because people are Richard Hart maxis. And
Yeah.
I think that's we need to find that middle ground, right? Like it's not opening the door to every single one of them, but being open to just seeing what's there,
Yeah.
right? Seeing what's there. That's it.
Yeah. You truly should like I mean like keep as you said like unbiased like view, because just like
Yeah,
Hex came along and proved to be like a superior product, there's other stuff that can come along and be like great products in so many other ways, like
yeah,
changes, loan protocols. I mean, like Hex is great store of value, but like there's people using liquid loans. Like there's people.
correct.
So there's other like aspects to like to the blockchain. There's so many like applications really, and I
Yeah,
like what you said, because it's truly like PulseChain is one thing where you see people come together, and like I really like the Pulselorian community as well. Because of that, you
mhm,
see people playing their parts in what they're best at and most passionate about.
exactly.
Some guy likes the
Yeah,
front, like he'll be like, I want to do front. And some guys want to dive deep into the contract. He dives deep. Somebody likes marketing and talking all day. Like
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, and so many companies wished they had this sort of performance with
yeah,
their own employees, but that's the difference between having a passionate community and a group of employees. Like you can see how a passionate community will always outperform any
yeah.
company or any developing team from a company.
Most
All
definitely.
right. Well,
Wondering.
well, I think this was a great conversation. Here, let me see. Pulse Farmer. He says I like to talk a lot. That's my role.
Yeah. Of
Yeah,
course,
and yeah,
he's a
I've
genius. He's
seen
a
him.
genius.
Yeah, yeah, he seems to be like what's your PR guy.
Yeah, the marketing team
Yeah,
for Reflux.
yeah. So
One of the
so
wheels.
yeah, I'm really happy with this. I think like I said on my videos, I think Reflux is I'm not telling them to put all their money in it, but just give it a go. Just give it a chance and see what happens. Like just the same way that we all started with Hex. You start with just a little, you create your first stake, you saw that it worked, then you go more into it. And then you become passionate about it, and we're still streaming about it 3 years later.
Yep.
So
Any
with Reflux, just give
questions?
it a shot.
Yeah, and any hurdles, any questions? We're on the Telegram to help. Even if you need
Mhm.
like face to face. Yep. So you can reach out there or on Twitter, right? Yep.
And it's good to know that you're from Brazil. So how big is the Portuguese community in Reflux? Are there many people?
I've seen definitely a few. Obviously, it's like crypto. I feel like it's so global. You see people from so
Uh-huh.
many places, so many different time zones. But there's like it was like a lady like most recently she did like a painting, like Aru
Uh-huh.
arts.
Yeah.
She's Brazilian, so she's Brazilian. So she
Oh,
yeah, so she did like she helped out and she did like those paintings for us. So that was awesome. She just records like TikTok videos of like crypto projects and she hand paints everything, and then she creates
yeah.
I recommend it's posted on our Twitter is Aru Hearts. Um,
Uh-huh.
I can post it on the Telegram later, but she's great. Yeah. So that's one, and obviously I have Brazilian friends like that. I said, hey, like
Yeah.
I'm on this
Yeah.
project,
Please promote this.
so most definitely like they're Brazilians in the group.
Okay, well, this was awesome. I don't know if anyone here has any other questions. Renee, anything else?
No, my only comment is that I can find in the farms the internet money token, and I can't connect to the wallet. that's
Oh,
that's
okay.
the only.
Work
That
on
would be
that.
this one here.
Yeah, we'll
Exactly.
work on that. We'll see about like adding the connection to
Okay.
the money wallet. That's yeah, that's good feedback. We have to do that for sure.
Yep. Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Thank you so much for being here. And if there's any further questions, according to the feedback that I get, we may do this again at
I
some
would
point.
I would love to. It'd be my pleasure, and thank you so much for helping out our community, Reflux and Pulselorian. And yeah, have a great night, guys. And it was
All
awesome.
right. Yeah. Same to you. See you. Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody. Hit the like button.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hit the like button, share it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Okay. See you. I'll lose
And
you.
now I just need to find. Yeah. Now I just need to find the outro on this one. Oh yeah.